Welcome to MasterMind Minutes, the podcast that focuses on the franchise industry. We'll cover topics that are important to franchisees as well as franchisors and share interesting insights that will help you build your business. We have one guest, we ask one question, and we do this in minutes, not hours. Good morning and hello again. Welcome to another edition of MasterMind Minutes. My name is Gary Occhigrosso. I'm the manager and founding member of Franchise Growth Solutions. And for those of you who are new to the broadcast here at MasterMind Minutes, it's a very simple concept. We have one guest, we ask one question, we get one expert answer. The thesis here is really to do it in minutes, not hours, so that we can give you a snapshot of some information. Of course, if you're interested in learning more, we will always give you the contact information of our guests so that you can reach out to them after the program or at your convenience and learn more about what they do. Today, actually, it's my pleasure and my honor to have Youssef Mubarez on the show. Youssef is, in all transparency, a client of Franchise Growth Solutions. We'll talk about the brand in just a moment, but he's a seasoned entrepreneur and executive, prominently engaged in the financial services and merchant processing industries, which is different from what we'll be talking about today, because now he's ventured into the hospitality business, the fast casual cafe business with a coffee brand known as Mokafe, which in my opinion is not only exciting, but it's innovative and really he's created a very trendy coffee spot that serves the community with some unique and engaging points of differentiation. He also currently serves as the Chief Operations Officer of ATM World Corp and the Chief Executive Officer of Secure Card Management, where he oversees operations that provide state-of-the-art cash support and merchant processing services. He's got some strategic vision for sure. We've been talking for about 6 months and putting the franchise together, but his leadership has been instrumental in expanding the business, and certainly his commitment and his innovation and commitment, as I mentioned, to excellence. It's what drives these businesses forward. So, Youssef, I'm very happy to have you here today. It's been a pleasure working with you all these months and putting Mokafe together. But before we get into the question, why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself, your background, and Mokafe?
Thank you, Gary. Thank you for having me on the podcast. Yeah, my name is Youssef Mubarez. Thank you for the great introduction. I've been an entrepreneur most of my life, born and raised here in New York, but my family and my dad immigrated here from Yemen, which is a country in the Middle East. Like you said, we've been working in delis and bodegas growing up, and we shifted over to ATMs and merchant processing. But that's along the same line. We provided the same delis that we worked with, ATMs and credit card machines, right? So we kind of facilitate all their transactions, and that's what we've been doing for about 25 years. But yeah, in the past 3 years, we decided to develop Mokafe, which is a Yemeni coffee house, single origin beans that we're bringing to New York, New Jersey, and hopefully the rest of the country. Coffee has always been a passion for us and my family, and especially the country of Yemen, where if you ask many people, that's where we believe coffee originated, in the city of Mocha. So yeah, we're excited to expand the brand and bring the flavors and tastes of Yemeni coffee to every household and everybody in America.
That's great. That's great. And it's interesting, the shift. But now the way you explained it about you were in sort of the deli and bodega. By the way, for those of you not in New York, a bodega is like a small little grocery store usually in a neighborhood. I've learned, by the way, Youssef, that when you get outside New York, people don't know those New York things. In any event, the shift over from the ATM and moving into that, which is definitely, I always use them when I'm if I'm in New York and I need cash. I don't even bother looking for a bank because I know all I need to do is find a bodega and there's going to be an ATM in there. So I got that. I did a little research, obviously, when we first started working on putting Mokafe together as a franchise on coffee and coffee origin. And it's interesting. I'm not sure if you're aware, but I started my career in franchising as a franchisee of Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
but they don't really teach you much, or I didn't really learn much about coffee other than how to use their coffee beans and how to brew the coffee. Um, but yeah, I think that part of the world is, I think I'm with you. I think that's where coffee sort of originated from because I'm a coffee holic. I mean, I love coffee. I'll take a city roast, a medium roast. Sometimes I love an espresso or like my favorite, it's hard to find, is sort of like that Turkish coffee that it's
Yeah.
almost like muddy, but it's so good if you're into coffee, if you're into coffee. So it's interesting because, one of the things that I always look at, and this is sort of going to get to our question, um, I believe every franchisor and every franchise brand should have a point of differentiation that is not that is not necessarily connected to the product or the service they sell. And I
Mhm.
usually ask people, tell me about your brand, but you can't mention your product or service. And they get a little bit crazy because they associate it with the product. So my point about points of differentiation and not necessarily tying it into the product is, I guess I would say, what does Mokafe or what's your vision of what is it going to bring to the world? What's the market's going to leave? Why is it different? There's 1,000, 1,000,000 coffee places. What's different about Mokafe?
What really makes Mokafe different is community at the end of the day. And that's what we realize is important to bring to each neighborhood that we're in. Um, it's always funny, honestly, when I speak to landlords about opening a coffee shop, they're always perplexed when I explain to because we always get to the point where what are your closing hours? And we say 11, 12, and they shift their head like this. They were assuming 6, 7 o'clock, like most coffee shops, right?
Yeah.
People come in the morning, they get their coffee, they open up their computer and they start working. So we definitely have that during the day, but what we were able to accomplish and what we realized after opening all these businesses is that after 6, that's when people need a place to hang out with their friends, with their family, not just drinking coffee and eating dessert, but spending 2, 3 hours just unwinding for the day. So our busiest times are on the weekdays after 6, after work, like a quote unquote coffee happy hour. And on the weekends, we actually stay open until midnight. And our busiest time is between 8 and 11 p.m.
Right. And that is completely unique in the coffee business for sure. It almost sounds like it's a club environment.
Yeah, yeah. So, we don't have loud music, we have ambient music.
Right.
Uh, nice trendy designs, desserts and drinks that people actually enjoy drinking for with their family and friends sharing, right? So, all our desserts and pastries are centered around community, right? Where, when people get a cake, it's not I'm getting a cake for myself and you're getting a cake. They're getting 2 or 3 desserts for 4 people to try at the same time. We're 4 forks. They're all digging in at the same time. They all have their lattes. Some might have a refresher. Some, other people are getting our more sugary lattes. Some are getting their espresso. So we try to make sure that everyone has something they want and they're just there for enjoying each other's company. And
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because as I said, I'm a coffee holic, but I always associate like people drink coffee in the morning to like get a lift. Okay. Okay. But people drink coffees in the evening after dinner because it now all of a sudden, even though it has caffeine, it kind of mellows you out because it's the environment. So I agree with you. The last time I was there, I was in your unit in Astoria and that's in Queens, New York, for those of you who are not in the area. Um, I got a refresher, which was interesting because I never had one of those, and it was like a screaming hot. I think I was there in like July or August, and it was already like 90 degrees at 11 o'clock in the morning. I had that, which was absolutely delicious. And then I couldn't resist. I tried to resist for a while, but I couldn't resist. I believe I had a pistachio croissant
Yeah.
Which, first of all, being in I grew up in the bakery business. I never saw that. And I thought that was kind of a unique flavor profile. And I thought, wow, okay, I could see, yeah, it's great having this in the morning, what have you, but I could also see having that as a dessert item at
Mhm.
night. So what I want to ask you about in terms of the franchising, and I'm trying to play a little bit dumb here for the audience, and the reason I'm saying that again in full transparency is we're working with Youssef and his team on launching the franchise. So there's a lot more about it than I'm sort of leading on to. So I'm asking questions as if I'm dumb to it, but whatever. And I'm usually dumb to things anyway. So my point is that when people enter into creating a franchise concept, sometimes they have one thing in their head about, oh, this is what it's going to be. And then as they go through the franchise development stage, which we're almost done with and ready to launch, you come away with, oh, I thought it was going to be this, but now I'm learning I got to know all about this or it's going to be that. What one or two things in this franchise development process for Mokafe have you learned that are either new or different than what you thought before you got into the franchising process?
When we started, like we said, we envisioned really good single origin, good quality coffee that, coffeeholics or coffee experts, in a sense, would come every day, taste the coffee, and enjoy like a really nice, delicious cup of coffee. Um, Soon after that, we realized because the community was growing, we had to, you know, expand the tastes for everyone. So when it came to franchising, we realized like we want to set a community like this in every single neighborhood that we're able to get to, and at the same time make sure that the whole community's tastes are there,
Mhm.
right? So we have a diverse menu, desserts, like I said, desserts, refreshers, espressos, coffee, but we want to keep it simple, recipes that we can send everywhere, like a pistachio croissant, as trendy and as exotic it may seem, it's pretty simple to make. And it keeps the people coming back.
Yeah, I could see that again, and I'm not usually, you know me now for a couple of months. I'm a pretty jaded New Yorker. I'm not usually moved by stuff, but I will say, the first time I was in one of the cafes, I thought, wow, this is really cool. It's really different. I think there's a lot of pieces to what you're doing that other folks in the coffee business or cafe business aren't doing. I don't think they even recognize it as part of the coffee business. I think one of the unique pieces is that there's things there that people wouldn't necessarily associate, like you say, staying open until midnight. Most people would never even connect that to the coffee business, but the fact that you've done that speaks to the fact that people were already thinking, boy, I wish I could go hang out at a coffee place at 9 o'clock at night, or like it was there. You just put it in front of them. So I love that aspect of it. I guess one of the things that I want to just sort of dig a little deeper in is that as you're becoming a franchisor, what are some of the things that maybe you didn't realize about franchising and how to franchise and the things that you're going to now be tasked with? Sort of, it's a different business, obviously, from the cafe business. So, can you speak to maybe one thing or two things that you go, oh, I didn't know I was going to have to do that? Or, gee, I realize now how important that is. Anything there on the franchising side that you've learned in the last couple of months that we've been putting this together?
Yeah, the biggest thing I learned is it is difficult, and the difficult part is
Yep.
making it as easy as possible for everyone.
Yes. Well said. Yeah, well said. Simplicity is not easy.
Yeah.
And that is a key to success in franchising. A lot of folks have great recipes or they have great concepts or what have you, but they don't know how to take their process and simplify it. And I guess more succinctly, how to duplicate or make it duplicatable. And what we've done and what we do, and I take a page out of Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth Revisited, all the time, and that is that people run the system and the system runs the business.
Mhm.
So I think it's been interesting over the last few months to see everyone on your team sort of kind of shift that mindset to, okay, now we've got to put this in a way where maybe someone who doesn't know much about running a business or running a coffee business or a cafe can now take our tools and our instructions, so to speak, the business in the box, and
Yeah.
execute. And I think that is a very, very interesting point of view. Tell me, how many units currently, and what's happening in terms of new units opening up? I think that'd be of interest to the audience.
Right now we have 6 units open in New York, New Jersey, and about six under construction.
Wow.
Even at the same time, we're still in conversations with landlords trying to open up new places in New York and New Jersey. So we're really excited about the franchise opportunities because, as corporate, we're here in New York and New Jersey, and we'd love to take the concept all over the country. Um, yeah, so, it's like you said, it's about getting that for us, you know, we can move quickly because we can kind of build the plane, as we're flying it, I guess. That's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But to
Well,
get
well,
everything down into one document so that they can look at it and say, all right, let's get this done. That's it's going to be a challenge, but thanks to you, we're getting there. We're almost.
well, okay, I didn't ask the question for an accolade, but I do appreciate it. I will say this, many franchisors, and this is again another thing that I think makes Mokafe unique in the sense of what they're taking to their franchise business as well as what they've taken to the actual cafe business is you guys had a couple of units up and running for a while and it was tested and sort of proven. Now you're up to six, you're building six more. I mean, a lot of franchisors, they don't go down that path that far. And it's okay. We have concepts that have one or two or three units and it's fine. But I think the idea that you really have understand the idea that you want to saturate a market, build brand recognition, credibility for the brand, figure it out. Maybe you guys get the bloody noses so your franchisees don't have to get a bloody nose. I think is a very, very important piece. From a setting point of view, from a venue point of view, do you see it only in cities? Do you see it sort of in the suburbs in a shopping center, almost like a Panera Bread kind of thing? Obviously, it's not, but how do you envision it from a venue and location aspect?
So right now, it's been doing real well in cities, but some of the newer locations were opening up in suburbs because of the fact that, as I said in the beginning, we're developing it as a community hub. So even in the suburbs, if they have nowhere to go, and Mo Cafe is a spot where they can all congregate on the weekends, I mean, it'll do well.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, it's so true. Up where I am, I live in northern New Jersey, and it closed probably 5, 6 years ago, just before COVID. There was this little tiny coffee shop. It was a mom and pop thing. And I never went there during the day or in the morning. I never went there. I don't think I've ever been there before 8 o'clock at night. And they were open till like 11 or 12, and it was sort of the the Williamsburg, Brooklyn type of coffee shop, the wooden plank floor. But what was beautiful about it was that in the evening was a whole different cast of characters in the sense that, and I use that term lovingly, it was like all these regulars it was like being in a bar almost, like all these regulars would be in there and everyone kind of knew each other and they would all be the people. And then on the weekends, they might have the guy with the guitar sitting in the corner, playing music, that sort of a thing. But the vibe was everything other than what you would think of as a coffee shop. It was completely different. And I think people went there for reasons way beyond just the coffee. And if I can connect that to Mo Cafe and say, and maybe you can confirm it or push back, but I think that's the same thing you're looking to do is to create that vibe.
Yeah, vibe is a big thing, atmosphere. And I'm going to take what you just said. We are trying to create something way beyond coffee. And it's working. It's working well. Actually, interestingly, one of our biggest sellers is decaf coffee because people,
Well, yeah, maybe at 9 o'clock at night, I could see that.
we make interesting drinks, interesting lattes, and hey, if you want a decaf, it's fine with us. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, again, my partner Fred and I, we don't take on companies that we don't think have something unique and something that we can expand. So I'll leave that there because I don't want to make it, a commercial for selling franchises, although at some point we will. Let me just ask you any last thoughts on the idea, or if I was like somebody you met, and I said to you, "Hey, you know what? I'm thinking of taking my XYZ business and turning it into a franchise." Like, what are the things I should be aware of? Like, what are the things that, you would tell me to say, "Hey, I think that's great, but look out for this." What would that be? So, sort of as a last thought here.
Don't underestimate what other people think what cost is like valuable, right? You might think that having all these nice designs is worth it in your place, but it may not be in another. So try to make it as simple and cost effective as possible. And just what we talked about earlier, detailing your process as you're going and making all the ingredients as simple as possible because it's interesting. Like during COVID, you started having all these instructions about how to wash your hands, right? So you're used to washing your hands a certain way, but when the instructions came out and it was saying you got to do it for 1 minute or 2 minutes, it's about documenting all of that stuff so it's easy for people to understand and replicate. And that's the difficult part.
It is. It certainly is, and that is the challenge that, again, for us at Franchise Growth Solutions as developers, franchise developers of numerous brands, what we always have difficulty with, or challenges, I don't want to say difficulty, is taking the founder of the company or the chef or whatever, and sort of getting into their head that they got to take what's in their head and put it on paper and make it really simple. Otherwise, the idea or your ability to duplicate your brand will be non-existent. So, and again, I think you guys have done a great job at that. If somebody wanted to reach you or reach out or learn more about Mokafe, what is there a website? How do people reach out?
Yeah, you can go to our website, mymocafe.com. You can follow us on Instagram at mymocafe. We have a Facebook account, but yeah, either one of those, we have people constantly monitoring. And yeah, soon we're opening up the franchise website. So if anyone wants to franchise, they can get it from My Mo Cafe. We'll have a separate URL, but you'll see the link there.
Great, great. Well, we've been speaking with Youssef Mubarez, who is the founder, co-founder, creator, CEO of Mokafe. Mokafe is the new franchise brand that we'll be launching pretty soon here with Franchise Growth Solutions. Thank you very much for spending some time with us. I appreciate it. I think people will be very interested in Mokafe and what you have to offer.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you for the time. I appreciate you.
My pleasure.